Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video we will be talking about the snow system that is occurring right now across the Midwest, as you can see indicated by this radar. We'll be also going over the increasing potential for some sort of a nor'easter, maybe a northeast type storm. At this point it's still very early and there's a lot of uncertainty. And after that, I will be going over the future details. So if you're from the south and you're watching this video, skip forward until you find me talking about the southern potential system, which is going to be coming next week after this potential nor'easter. And even across the Midwest, upper plains, and Northwest, a ton of chances of snow. So we'll be also just going over the pattern and a very cold air. Lots to talk about. If you enjoy these videos, consider checking out the channel, consider subscribing. And if you would like to support it, you could also hit the thumbs up button. Any comments or concerns, leave them down below. I will do my best to answer them. Alright, let's get into this. Okay, so we are looking at the radar display. This is indicative of precip intensity, not precip type. A lot of this is falling as snow. Actually, most of this further to the south, there's obviously rain, even a bit of some thunderstorms in southern Arkansas. Really nothing too significant in terms of severe weather. Notice that the snow is starting to wind down across Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, but it's moving into Michigan. For northern Illinois, this definitely did underproduce, or for at least my area, in northeastern Illinois, there was a bit less than forecasted. And the reason for that is there was a lot of warm air, a bit warmer than expected. It started snowing at 36 degrees, so you can imagine not much accumulated on the pavements or even the elevated surfaces. And just because I'm speaking from experience, I know how it is outside. For those that have a slush on your driveway, get rid of that quickly within the next couple of hours, as tonight, most of Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, the Midwest will be around 15 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. It will be cold and it will all freeze over. So get that out of there. It's way worse than snow. It will be like an ice. All right. That the snow is heavy and wet. It is pretty heavy across Wisconsin. It fell. If you're to look at the snowfall reports, notice that we are getting several reports now over 6 inches. So that is, as you know, that is always a good thing for those snow lovers. Rhinelander is topping out right now at 8 inches. Wait, we do have an 8.5 inch right there. I think that just loaded in as we reported. It's all right. Yeah, you can see 8.5 right there. I'm assuming these will start filling in. Minneapolis, big cities like this, 2 to 3 inches. So you could see not bad. There was quite a bit to the north and west where a very heavy snow band set up. But again, you weren't expected to see a monster out of this. Des Moines, Iowa did get a bit more. I mean, 3 inches. They were expecting 1 to 2. Generally, nothing too extraordinary. Quad City area, especially towards Dubuque and into Cedar Rapids, they did get some decent amounts. You could see one report over 6 inches. And you could see Illinois right there, Schaumburg, 1.5, right? West Chicago, Illinois, 2 inches. So you can see that's actually not that bad. Again, though, it's forecasted 2 to 5 inches, so that's still definitely lower side. Michigan, no reports yet, but we will start seeing those fly in rather quickly, probably, as that snow is occurring very, very rapidly. Okay, let's go now. You can see there are also snow reports from the west. Let's now start talking. Also, just right there, just by Columbus, just under an inch of snow. 2 inches right there. We got an inch of snow here in about less than an hour. It was very, very heavy, and some of that is still continuing, especially towards Ohio. Up here, very heavy snow, but it's a bit less dynamic. I do want to say that all of this back here, it's very strong winds. Out ahead of this, the winds are decent. Behind it, there will be very strong winds, especially into Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana. Very, very, very strong winds. And let's actually set this up to time. You can see that there is a batch of snow developing back here in Illinois. Now, that's not going to drop many inches, but it could still pivot into northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and potentially drop in half an inch. But the worst thing is that this will be wind whipped. The winds will be fierce, so that's definitely something to watch for. Okay, let's move on. We've been talking about that for long enough. Let's take a look at the HRRR model. So I'll just display the next 18 hours of the storm system. Find your location. I will zoom out a bit so you could capture in the time. You can see this is 5 p.m. So that's Central Standard Time. We are closer to around this and probably even closer to 7 when you're watching this video. So again, the HRRR model keeps it a bit more uniform across Illinois than it actually is. If you were to take a look at the radar map, you can see it's a bit more scattered, right? The snow's in heavy pockets of it, but not as widespread. It is pretty solid into Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and into northern Wisconsin. The UP, notice that this does, again, start quickly moving away, especially from Ohio, Indiana, well, to the north right here into, say, Green Bay. The UP, it kind of stagnates a bit because this low pressure does slow down. But look at this. Right now, many folks aren't seeing wind at all. You're kind of stuck in this low pressure, dry slop, if you will. No, that's not accurate. Low pressure, quiet spot, if you will. Kind of like the eye of a storm and a hurricane, but obviously way less dramatic. You can see that the winds right here aren't really too strong, but once this system starts pulling away, you know, these winds are going to come swooshing in, and along with that, very cold temperatures. You can see that snow that will be falling right there will be very wind whipped, so, you know, potentially isolated blizzard conditions. Notice Michigan continues to see snow. Some lake enhancement is definitely a possibility, especially as we get towards the weekend time frame. Her model isn't too excited showing it off of Lake Michigan, but it definitely does advertise it off of Lake Superior. All right, so you can see this was through, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., right? It basically moves out. Notice cities like Toronto, you do pick up a bit of snow. At this point, it seems like it will be all snow. However, again, if it's a bit warmer on the pavement, asphalt, this will have a very, very hard time accumulating. So, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you have snowpack, for example, the snow, it won't melt on top of snow. That's what happened here. We got around 2 inches on a snowpack that we had, and anywhere else, it was pretty much just like a slush that was left behind. Total snowfall, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which is accurate because this is falling very wet and heavy. And based on observations that I've seen, it's actually a bit of a lower ratio. Further to the north, it may be a bit higher, but across Illinois, Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, Iowa, the ratio was pretty high. It was a very heavy wet snow. The ratio was low. It was a very heavy wet snow. About 8 inches of snow per 1 inch of water. That was the ratio. Notice additional snowfall, a bit maybe into Illinois, a bit more into Wisconsin. Notice Ohio, especially northwestern Ohio could pick up a bit of snow. Michigan, you could see Detroit right there, Lansing, 3-4 inches. Again, that may be a bit on the higher side, but looking at the radar returns, it does look pretty impressive. So, maybe even more than that. Notice UP does pick up quite a bit of snow, especially where the lake enhancement helps out, and you can see further into Canada, Toronto, around 2 to potentially 4 inches. I do want to quickly demonstrate the temperatures with this. I do apologize, I'm focusing so much on this, but I do want to, go over this in detail for the folks that are getting impacted by this right now. Notice, very cold temperatures are already starting to take hold across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, especially northeastern half of South Dakota. And notice that this quickly swoops in. I mean, you can see Chicago right now is around 35. Milwaukee's at around 30. Anywhere in Michigan is really not anywhere below 30 degrees. Notice that quickly does start changing, especially first, off to the west and then progresses to the east. Some single-digit lows are definitely possible in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, obviously just mostly 5 degrees Fahrenheit tops, right? Where the snow is falling across the UP, there may be a bit of hinderment, if you will, of that cold air arrival, and some of those temperatures may stay a bit warmer. Let's move on now and start talking about a potential nor'easter. So let's start off with the European model. So we have that system moving away, right? And the first part of this nor'easter is this right here, this low pressure. Now it is currently moving into Canada, hasn't made landfall yet, but it very shortly will. Very heavy snow into British Columbia, Alberta, Canada, as well into Washington, Montana, Idaho. There are actually winter storm watches issued. Let me go back to, let's see if I could just go back to weather.gov here. I was looking at my local radar here. All right, so let's start focusing onto Montana and into portions of Wyoming, Idaho. I always have folks saying that I don't focus enough across the Northwest, and that is true to a certain extent. The recent videos I haven't been at all because of what has been going on across the East, the Nor'easter, then the Midwest system. But now it is warranted to look at Montana as our winter storm warnings popping out pretty clearly. And notice, a lot of large cities, Great Falls, Helena, capital right there, Bozeman. Billings also a under a winter storm warning. Let's take a look at the snowfall amounts. Notice that they are pretty high, right? Especially towards the more elevated areas. You can see Bozeman 5 to 8, Great Falls 4 to 7, Hayes 4 to 7, right? Kings Hill Pass, 18 to 26 inches, a pretty large range, but that's assuming elevation forecasting is very hard, which is why I kind of stay away from that. Notice total snow accumulations of up to 10 to 14, and this is for the following counties or the following areas, as you can see right there. And again, a pretty good snowfall event for Montana. If you were to look at North Dakota, they don't have any winter storm watches or warnings issued. If you were to look at Williston, furthest, closest, largest city towards Minnesota, not really much, right? A slight chance of snow. Very, very cold for sure. I mean, very, very cold. And that's something that will definitely be the most dangerous thing to come. We do have avalanche warnings across Colorado. That is definitely to do with the heavy snowpack that we have in place. All right, so regarding that winter storm, notice it moves in. So it starts off not moisture starved, right? It is fueled off the Pacific Ocean, very, very buoyant air mass in terms of supporting heavy precip rates. But as it moves through the mountains, you can see Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, it really starts weakening, and by the time it's out into the plains, it is a pretty weak system. It is moisture starved, however, there's a lot of cold air in place. So while this does look miserable, some of these snowfall rates could be relatively high, or I should say snowfall amounts could be relatively high because of the ratio. So normally, if you folks don't know what a snowfall ratio is, 10 inches of snow is equivalent to 1 inch of water. That is considered a normal snow, a bit on the wetter side. Now, if it's a dry, fluffy snow, that's always indicative of a cold pattern, a cold air temperature. That is usually considered 15, 16, and above. Even 16 and 15 is already a very, very fluffy snow. And there have been ratios before that get up into the 30 and even into 40-inch amounts. So where 30 inches of snow could equivalent to 1 inch of water. So yeah, if it's very cold, even a tiny bit of precipitation that gets squeezed out could equivalent to a lot of snow. Obviously, if you melt that, it won't be that much. But notice Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, right? Missouri, Illinois, right there. Pretty good amounts of snow potentially. Some models make it way more aggressive than what this European shows. Now, this is where things get interesting. We are not far out, but there's a lot of disagreement. Look at that. We have a large low pressure that develops in the southeastern United States. It starts rising towards the north and east, right? A classic setup. And look, it starts producing snow. Virginia, North Carolina. Again, details are still very scuffy, and I know that a lot of people are going to be asking, oh, will I see snow? Anywhere in this outlined area, I would say that the chance for snow is definitely elevated through the next, I would say, 6 days, whenever Monday, Tuesday time frame. Let's end it there. I would not be surprised, for example, to see even portions of extreme northern Georgia get a bit of snowfall. Not Atlanta. I don't think any large metropolitans will from this system. Again, notes on this system. It's a lot of moisture. I mean, it's not strong yet at this point, but so much moisture. Notice it moves up to east coast, but it kind of strays away from land, and it doesn't bring massive amounts of snow for New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. This is the European. It's a relatively calmer scenario. It does bring snow into Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, portions of the southeast, and then it moves away. Now, I do want to say that another system would be making its way through the Midwest into Montana, right? Look at that. It sets up across the Midwest, starts producing some light to moderate snowfall amounts. Again, it will be higher than expected or higher than you would think because of the very cold air. Notice as this moves through, it does drop quite a bit of snow and potentially another sort of system. Again, even less confidence on this one because we don't even know what's going on with this one right here, right? So after that passes through, you can see high pressure, very, very cold air indicated, and that is obvious as we start seeing precip here starting to flirt with some pink colors. For my folks living across the south, there have been a lot of theories about a winter storm, a massive blizzard. There definitely are models that show some signs of a winter storm, a significant one. Though for now, I think this is accurate. You can see the European does paint a bit of snow, a bit of ice, definitely a bit aggressive in some areas, and the potential for snow across Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, even northern Georgia, northern Alabama, Mississippi. It's there, right? And I don't think it'll be significant if it does occur, you know, like a 10-inch snowstorm. But it doesn't take a lot to be significant in the south, 2 to 3 inches, and that's considered a pretty significant system. And you can see that passes through at this point. Pretty chilly air is in place at this part. So you know, Florida maybe we're flirting with very cold temperatures, and a lot of the south as well. Okay, I know you guys all want to look at the snowfall amounts. This is just one depiction. This is a simulation of one model and what it thinks will happen. This is not a forecast by any means, and oftentimes, you know, forecasts aren't made from just one model. Oftentimes, they're never made off of one model. That was a mistake right there that I made. So let's wait for this to load. It is taking a bit. While that is loading, maybe it's just pivotal weather. Let's see if I can load up the GFS model and show you it on Tropical Tidbits. So the GFS is another model that we use, and really everyone uses. It does a very good job with no storms. Not as good as a Euro, I would say, but it definitely has a fair share of its accurate input. Let's take a look at it. This is the 18Z, very up to date, right? The most recent. Here's our Midwest system. Moves off into the southeast, into southeastern Canada, into the northeast. Then we see our northwest system, right? Decent amounts of snow to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Salt Lake City, potentially getting in on some, maybe some lake effect, though it doesn't look too impressive. There has been lake effect off Salt Lake, the Great Salt Lake before. It doesn't happen too often, but it does. Now notice that we do have that system, right? If you recall, the European brought it further to the north, the GFS a bit further to the south. It merges it a bit better with the moisture from the south. So look at that, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, even Kansas getting in on some of that snowfall. And look at that, it goes pretty far to the south, southeastern Tennessee, southern really just a whole eastern Kentucky, Virginia, especially further inland, though again, this is just one model representation, portions of North Carolina as well, especially the mountains. Northern Georgia, possible. And look, it drops a bit of snow into the northeast and off into Atlantic Canada. And if, for example, this turns out to be a monster, you know, I mean, or even if it's a monster or not a monster, there's more weather on behind it. Sorry about that. I was a bit confused there. Okay, so my cat was jumping off something, and I think it made like a noise. It scared me a bit. All right, so we have this system, right? Regardless of whether it's big or not, look at that. We have another one. The GFS doesn't do really too significant, anything too significant with it, but the chances are there. And then look at potential another one. This one again could be affecting more of the south. Look at that, very very cold air. That's another thing I want to emphasize in just a second. And notice these storms continue on and on and on, and this is just, you know, through the 16th, 15th. Look at that, very far to the south. We probably overplayed quite a bit, but you know, it's showing that definitely the temperatures will support that. Okay, so after that is all said and done, let's go to hour 168 after that nor'easter and see how much snowfall potential, right? So again, this is from today's system across the Midwest. Notice what it does, right? In terms of the snowfall across right there. This is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, still pretty good amounts across central Missouri, sorry, I meant to say Kansas, northern Arkansas. A lot of these locations have been missing out this year across Missouri with that snow. You can finally begin to pick up some with this pattern. And notice a bit of snow into Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and up the northeast. While it's nothing too impressive, again, the GFS keeps it weaker. The chances are there. You know, that's potentially up to 4-5 inches across New York City. It's nothing compared to what you've seen, but it's not a horrible event. Again, stay tuned. This is changing, and it's very, very, very low confidence for being this far out. The European model finally loaded. Let's take a look at what it shows. Again, this is a bit behind because this was from noon today, so it shows higher amounts forecasted for Wisconsin than there will be actually, because a lot of this already fell. Notice that for that northeast system, right? We start seeing that combination of these two, and we have the flow from the northwest, right? Look at that system. Generous amounts across southwestern Montana, not much for northeastern Montana. But look at that. Across the northeast, Virginia, potentially up to 6-5 inches. North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, right? And up the East Coast. Nothing too significant, but it is a drastic increase from, say, midnight or yesterday, where this system... Sorry about that. This model's bugging out. Where this system completely took it just didn't even drop anything. So the trend definitely has been towards an increase in that nor'easter. Yesterday I didn't even talk about much about it because I was assuming that there's a good chance the models may just disregard it, but or they may just continue pushing it off. But indications are that the chances are increasing for this system. So that's the European. I'll show you now as much as I can. Canadian GDPS, take it out to our 162 total snowfall 10-to-1 ratio. Again, it is a bit slower today. The computer is taking its sweet old time. And if we could just, there we go. All right. So notice this is a lot of snow from those little systems that pass through. Assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, if we were to click on Kuchera, it's much higher. And it doesn't show anything monstrous for the Northeast, the Canadian. And, that's some models, but then equally, as what the Canadian shows, no snow. Some show a lot of snow. It does show potential, in the longer range or medium to short range where the snow chances continue. Right, but we can see it's favoring the Midwest, this model in particular. GFS Parallel is a very good model. I like to use it. Unfortunately, its latest model run hasn't come out. Let's take a look at the Noon model run. Take it out through 162. It's been a strong advocate of this system, and you can see it centers it more across Virginia. Okay, so with that being said, I want to show you some of the high-res models, the NAM North American model. The NAM is in pretty good agreement with other high res, which is a good sign. They're not really bickering that much. Notice that passes through, right? We have our first part of our nor'easter potential right there through Montana, the northwest. It speeds up. It catches up with this very potentially warm air mass across the south, right? It's kind of just chilling there, if you will. Notice the NAM, right? It brings snow into Illinois, Wisconsin, a bit further to the north. Still brings snow into much of northern Missouri, if not further even south into central Missouri. Look at that. We get very heavy snow setting up across Tennessee, northern Alabama, extreme northern Georgia, North Carolina, southern Kentucky, and this is at around that Sunday time frame, Saturday, Monday. I should have gone over the timing a bit better, but hopefully you did see that this was this end of this weekend, not a week out or not tomorrow. But notice these two kind of phase together a bit, and look at that. Low pressure starts dropping quite a bit of snow, and the NAM goes pretty heavy all the way up the East Coast, not just for the Carolinas or Virginia. And notice, look at that. It's definitely a significant system, potentially up to 10 inches, and starts showing more snow. Okay, that is the NAM. And if we were to take a look at, say, the RDPS, the Canadian one, you can see that what it shows is, in terms of, okay, let's wait for this to load. We has that first system, right? We have that second system, and in terms of orientation and track, it's pretty spot on with the NAM. You can see it brings it a bit further north into Illinois, Iowa, a bit further to the north. Again, a bit weaker for sure than a NAM, but in terms of track, it's nothing too significant. Look, that coastal storm does end up forming. It does show a bit less of that snow as it brings it further to the south. The RDPS is a good model. It mimics the Canadian very well. So if the Canadian takes it off the coast, chances are this one will as well, but you can see it's still showing more snow, which is indicating that, the trend is definitely there. And look at that. It's a very strong system, really not that far off the coast. So if we were to take a look at the total snowfall in terms of Kuchera, which will probably be more accurate with this event, notice that across the Northwest, decent amounts of snow, right? Across the Midwest, not as much as a NAM, but there you can see it adds on. And then across the Northeast, really just the Carolinas, into Virginia and northern South Carolina, adds on some snow. Notice this is the latest suit of 31 GFS ensembles. And what we have here is the latest run, right? We have the Northeast pulled up in terms of snowfall. So let's track this through. Again, this system, a lot of models favor it around this time frame. Notice what some models do. There's quite a bit of disparagement with this. Some of them show a very large nor'easter. Some of them do, most of them do show some sort of snow, you can see. And then there's some that show a significant system, but further to the south, in Virginia, West Virginia, right? And it brings it further even south of the mid-Atlantic. Now, this is the Northeast, so I do want to show you now the Southeast, as that is where some of the snow could be falling, right? And it's not completely out of the norm to see snow across the south during the winter. Notice that a lot of the models show some signs of snow, while some are very weak. Others are pretty bulky. And definitely there has been a trend towards a bit more of those bulkier amounts, as yesterday they were kind of tracking it more off coast. Notice there was snow that was showing, but a lot of them showed, almost completely nothing. Today there's a bit more. Now, let's take a glance at the, just in the future, by the way, see what they show in terms of the 18, the latest suits. I just want to show you what they show in the future. This is actually the first time I'm looking at it myself. I looked at it up to hour 186 when they were loading, but look, it introduces more snow chances. You can see right there, adding on a few ensembles. They think there will be snow, and very very far out additional chances. Look at portions of Arkansas, even getting towards say Louisiana, right? And the Northeast would be the same. I'm running low on time, so I don't want to go over every region with this, as I do also want to go over the EPS members, the European ensembles. This unfortunately doesn't really show us kind of a nice layout of through time. We'll just have to stop at the time where this nor'easter may be occurring, which is right around here. You can see this ensemble takes it further up the coast and run it through all these models. So again, this is the operational one, what it thinks, the European, the ECMWF. Notice the ensembles, not all of them agree. Some take it further off coast, some bring it further on. And let's just load this through. You can see that one's a bit on coast, this one's a bit on coast, further off. And you could assume, by the way, that, and you know, most models that bring it onshore like this will bring heavy snow to the northeast, but I won't really switch the hour here as we're running low on time. And notice that a lot of this occurs onshore. Some do show it offshore, but you know, it's been a significant jump from yesterday. And notice, I mean, just I'll demonstrate for you. Model that shows something like that, you can see it brings it well into the northeast and jumps that snow. In terms of snowfall amounts, this would obviously be, you know, several inches of snow. And just to run this through, you can see, look at the difference between that one and this one. This one and that one, you can see pretty big. And if you run this through the future, a bit more disagreement regarding the track. Decent, you know, definitely more than yesterday though. Look at that. That would be a very significant storm. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe. You know, besides this snowy pattern, these snow potentials, there's going to be very, very cold air, which makes all of this very possible. So that's going to be the most dangerous. You know, wind chills are going to be bitter, and especially if you live anywhere north of, say, Missouri, Kansas, Kentucky, it will be very dangerous. Anywhere south of that, it will be cold for sure, below average, just maybe not dangerous. And that's basically it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.